on the development committee of Earth Island Institute. His educational background, quite impressive, BS from Carnegie Mellon in marketing and industrial management, and he's done some graduate coursework from the University of Chicago in marketing and from Harvard in environmental management. So kind of comes to us with a wealth of knowledge. Plus the fact for a lot of these organizations that he's working with, he is their IT webmaster, so doing a lot of work within this area. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Bob.
Thank you, Stephen. Do we have a paper here? Thank you, everybody, and welcome. How many of you have been to a NCRRA update before? You know, it's like really intense and short. I'm going to be doing like 4 of those because there's so much information to cover that each one of these could be a week-long workshop. So I want to give you the initial information to get you started at looking at these things, and the presentations will be available online. And I'd be happy to follow up with anyone either here at the conference with additional questions or information that might be needed, or after the conference. So, so one of the things I'll be talking about is how every time you log in, you should be updating all your software. And not so much for this, but security reasons and things that we'll touch on. I'm going to be going over putting it all together because you've got some marketing fundamentals that people seem to not think much about when they're putting these things together, but it's really all the same as it's always been, just different mediums to work through. Open source software, content management systems, social media tools, trends, and metrics, web and social media security, which is very important these days, and then creating an efficient workflow, because when you have all of these things, how do you make them work together without having 10 people on your staff? Marketing fundamentals, people have talked about the 4 Ps. They're actually a lot more than that, but you can fold them into this. Product, price, placement, and promotion. It still applies to online products or services as much as it always did to the hardline brick and mortar type of businesses. You want to identify your target market, go to where your audience is. Don't just put it up and assume that they're going to get there. You want to connect and engage with each population segment, as has been alluded to. Some of the things you can use: graphics, photos, video, music, things that are emotionally engaging for people. Pets, kids, health, families. It's going to be different for each target audience. Here's an example that ties into what we're doing here. One of my clients is Mojave Desert Mountain Recycling, and you can see that they worked with Curiosity Quest to put together a video for kids. They did a MRF tour and collected a lot of information and added that to their website. Some of my other clients are Marin Sanitary, who's here, Napa Recycling, California Product Stewardship Council, Keep California Beautiful. Build and protect your brand. I see a lot of times websites and Facebook or social media pages that look like they're from 2 or 3 different companies. Make sure that you establish your branding. You should have a style guide that applies to everything you put out, whether it's in hard copy or online, digital. And have posting policies or guidelines so that anybody who's posting on your social media, if you've got more than one person doing that, is following the protocol and not putting something out there that's inconsistent with your marketing plan. In relationship with social media, it's complicated. You know, we talk about videos and graphics. You can see here a study done by a research group on Pinterest where they studied 500,000 images and looked at the different effects images have on viewing. And they studied things like texture, lightness, saturation, found that images with lots of color preferred, while red, orange, and brown are twice as likely to be repinned on Pinterest over blue pictures. Images are repinned, but if they include a face, they're less likely to be promoted. So there are a lot of little minor details that make a big difference when you're doing a social media program. Some tips and resources. Eyes are attracted to shapes, colors, and motion. That's an old marketing standby. Learn from the pros. Look at the Clio Awards. They give awards for the best advertising. All of these award winners are online. The Webby Awards. Watch television and look at what the professionals are doing to appeal to the same market segments, what types of graphics and messaging and things that they're using to appeal to people, the rate at which they talk, hopefully not as fast as me, so it's digestible. YouTube, you can see what the most watched videos are. And YouTube is a very powerful tool for social media that's often overlooked. Search engine optimization, very important, and not as hard as people would think. There are certain things that you can pay attention to get it up there pretty quickly. I started, it takes a little while to get your rankings up. So I started getting my analytics in and putting in my key terms and getting it on webmaster tools and things like that before even my full sites were developed. I did that with greentechnologyjobs.com as I started to build the website, and we were #1 on Google within a week, and I had no content on my page. So I had to pull it down quickly, and now I'm using that as a development space. Recyclingjobs.com got the #1 on Google within a week and a half. I recently did a talk in Illinois for their Recycling Association conference. So as a case study, 2 weeks before the conference, I started a site called napervillejobs.com for Naperville, Illinois. By the time the conference came up, we were #3 on Google. Open source software and content management systems. Open source software is kind of like the non-GMO of technology. It's really community driven. It means you have access to all the code. It's not hidden and proprietary. It's often free, like Drupal, Joomla, and WordPress content management systems. Some of the others are OpenOffice, which can replace most of Microsoft Office. It's totally free. GIMP, which stands for GNU Image Manipulation Program, can be a substitute for Photoshop. It's completely free. Scribus is like a document management tool where you can do layout and design. That's completely free. And then, of course, Linux, which now hosts more than 50% of the world's websites and is evolving for desktop use. There are things like Kubuntu out there, but generally you need a higher level of technical experience and comfort to use that on your desktop right now. There's additional free and open source software. Go to sourceforge.net, and you can find entire directories of things that could replace all the proprietary software you're paying for right now. Content management systems, the big three are Drupal, Joomla, and WordPress. There's a lot of movement going on in that world right now. WordPress is basically taking over at this point, depending on what you want to use it for. A lot of it isn't about what the systems can do, it's how developed their add-ons and extensions are. With any of these, there are more than 10,000 extensions available, many of which are free, and those extensions are what add functionality to your site. And how developed each of those extensions are might often be the determining factor based on what you want to use your website for and the technical experience within your staff. They're all very good. Drupal is the most technically challenging. They have a higher level of expectation if you want to use it every day. For example, they don't even include a native WYSIWYG editor, which is kind of like Word. What you see is what you get, where you can highlight to make something bold. You need to type HTML in Drupal right out of the box. And so there's an add-on that'll take care of that pretty quickly, but that gives you some idea of the level of expectation. Joomla is kind of in the middle. It's also a great system, a lot of good, very well-developed add-ons, and a really nice directory database. And then WordPress, which had started as a blog, but has really evolved into a full-featured system, and their extensions are coming along. I don't think they're quite as developed for a lot of areas as Drupal and Joomla are, but they're getting there rapidly. Here are some Google CMS trends. Google's great for a lot of data on the internet, and you can see what WordPress has been doing since 2005 to today versus Drupal and Joomla. Some of that is because WordPress was designed to be so easily and accessible, similar to like Facebook. So thousands of people would go in and start WordPress sites and then never do anything with them. However, this data is coming straight off of Google, and then this graph is for the top million websites. So you can see that more than 50% of the top million websites on the internet right now have gone over to WordPress, and then you've got Joomla in second and Drupal in third. Again, they're all good, and it really depends on your staff and what you want to use it for. Some social media tools and metrics. Most of you probably know all these on the left, except possibly Clout. What many don't pay attention to are things like Tumblr, Dig, Reddit, Delicious, StumbleUpon. Whenever I was working for a presidential campaign two campaigns ago, I was chair of an electronic outreach committee, and just through using these tools on the right, I was able to get stuff up onto the CNN and mainstream media news crawls just to totally grassroots efforts, but using these propagation tools, and we were able to get on CNN and MSNBC and Fox totally for free and totally grassroots. LinkedIn can be used for different things like following companies, jobs, groups, and remember your personal connections and the way you build those up through your business also become part of your network. So it's important to build those things out and build them with strategy in the right direction. LinkedIn won't let you just go connect with just anybody you want to. But one way you can get around that and start building in a particular direction is by joining groups. When you're in a group, you can reach out and try to connect with other people in that group. So if you join groups related to your industry or to the target market segment you're trying to reach, then you have more access and ability to connect and build out your profile. Grow your network. Everybody meet at a conference, alma mater, other groups, shared common connections. Try to start building that up because it really snowballs quickly. Endorsements. These I would not trust in a job situation. I also owned a recruiting firm for 15 years, and these are not really valid endorsements. What they do is they ask other people who have those same qualifications on their site to endorse you on those things, but they might not have ever worked with you. I get endorsed for things all the time with people that I barely know that have never worked with me. So it's just kind of a nice way of interacting with people, but don't use it to screen candidates. This is an interesting thing a lot of people don't know about. This is called a LinkedIn map. It's out of their labs. And what this is showing is my different groups on my connections. And you can see these are all ocean conservation, Bay Area environmentals, California recyclers, Midwest and national recyclers. And then I do a lot with the music community as well. And I try to engage them on environmental issues. And then my alma mater back there. But there are opportunities at the nexus of these communities. And so when you know where you're at and where you're linked, you can be more proactive in going where you want to go and pulling resources together. Tumblr has surpassed Facebook in some younger demographics, so don't ignore things like that. Facebook is kind of becoming passé, and a lot of younger people are running away. The fastest growing segment is seniors that are jumping on to see pictures of the grandkids and things, and the grandkids are running away as fast as they can. So they're going to places like Tumblr. Digit also is one that, and you don't have to have accounts for all of these. You can put propagation tools onto your website, especially if you're using a content management system. You can add an extension that allows anybody who does have an account to promote your materials through their accounts. You don't have to open these all up yourself. Reddit's another one. Facebook is facing some problems, I think. I mean, they're doing well financially, but I think overall they might be the next MySpace. So don't ignore other things and invest completely in certain assets. That's why I think the website should still be your core, but it can be the center of your communication system that integrates with all of these other systems. Here's one weird trick. You know, how many of you have seen those advertisements? They find strange things they think people will click on, and they use these terms, which are annoying to me, but they obviously work or they wouldn't do it. But if you ever go to invite people to a Facebook event, they want you to have to click on each individual name to try to invite all these people. Here's a little script. I know it's going to be hard to read, but I put it up here so you can pull it out of the document later. It's a little JavaScript code that you can paste into your URL that will allow you to select and invite everybody on your Facebook to your event at one click. So if you've got 5,000 people, you no longer have to click a bunch of text boxes. YouTube, again, content matters. It's the second most used search engine behind Google. And that's where a lot of young people are going to find information. And you can find information on just about anything there, including websites and technology. QR codes are fantastic. They're being used all over the place. For anybody who's not familiar with them, they're completely free. This is just one example. I'm not endorsing them, but there are hundreds of websites out there where there are paid versions and free versions. And you can put in any link, and then it'll create this for you. So that one goes to my LinkedIn account. If I were to scan that with my phone, it would open up my LinkedIn account right there. So I work with a lot of people in the music industry. They're doing these on their posters now. So when you put them out any place, if somebody's walking by a record shop and they see a poster in there, they can scan it with their phone, and it opens up the website and the link where they can buy tickets and go to the event. You can put them on shirts, coffee mugs, all over the place. Share This is one of the tools that I mentioned that you can use for propagation. Share This has, I forget how many now, probably 50 or 60 different social media propagation tools that are tied in. So if you put Share This on one of your sites, somebody can click it and then send this out through all of the different mediums. You can't manage what you don't measure. I wear a body metrics fitness device, and it's helped me lose 80 pounds over the last year and got a lot of nice hits on Facebook. But still, I started paying attention to how many steps I was doing every day, how many calories I was taking in. It's hard to pay attention to that stuff. Same thing is true with all of your social media and marketing activities. Some social media metrics. This is a great source for government. There are a lot of resources on this site, howto.gov, for social media metrics for federal agencies. So I recommend you take a look at that and see all the different tools that are out there and ways to use them. Google Analytics, of course, great presentation. That was wonderful, and it is definitely the best tool to use overall for your websites. It's thorough, it's accurate, and consistent. Clout is more personal influence, and it's something that takes into account all of your different social media metrics. It measures how many people share things and repost things. It's not completely accurate. I've seen a lot of errors in it, but it's one benchmark that you can at least look at. And it's being used in different ways by different groups. Here's an example of a clout score. So it'll show me what my score was and how it's trended, and then it'll give you sources of where it all came from. PQ, it measures personal online presence. Steve?
No, 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I'll move quickly. This is an example of integrating Fisherman's Wharf site we did with integrated Facebook through the front end, so they could update their site just by updating Facebook every day. Here's one for the Placerville Natural Foods Co-op. Wanted to do the same thing, very non-technical group managing this site. They wanted to be able to just update Facebook. NRC, we used some RSS feeds in here, so we have our calendar feeds that ties into a Google Calendar. The central part is just RSS news feeds. Security, very important. I'm not going to go through all this now, but please pay attention to your passwords. Don't use something that can be found on any social media site. There are hackers everywhere out there these days. This is the NRC site and a graph of security breaches, attempted security breaches. They've never been able to get in, but you can see those peaks. More than 12,000 times on 2 different occasions in one day, they were attempting to hack the site. That site's had attempted hacks on it more than 100,000 times in the last 2 years. And that's just the NRC site. The Placerville Co-op site, somebody out of China and Russia keeps trying to hack it. And it's probably bots, but they're out there and they still come after your site. Keep all your software up to date. That's very important. Every time you log in, update your software first. Never share passwords. Here are some examples of different security programs that you can integrate. Create an efficient workflow. Pull all this stuff together. You have to have your marketing plan, website, blog, social media. They should all be pulled in to one program so that they're working together and that you don't have to work these things independently and haphazardly. And for all of you here, this goes for all CRRA members and anybody attending the conference. You get free postings on recyclingjobs.com through the end of the year just by using the word Pasadena as your discount code. Any questions?
I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what questions to ask.
Yeah, I knew it would be a lot to cover. The most important thing is, understand your CMS. Make sure you're updating your software all the time. Figure out what markets you're trying to reach, and then measure the results. And you can make changes on your pages at any time and see how those results affect. Some of the extensions, even, for example, California Product Stewardship Council, you may notice we have a slideshow there as the main feature. And as soon as they log in, the very first thing they see on their admin page is a graph of all the hits on the different slides. So they can put up a slide, and the next day, or any day, they can see where this is graphing out. And as they change slides, they see what's having impact. So in addition to Google Analytics, which really should be the backbone of what you're using, you can put in additional specific metrics to measure what you're working on. Yes?
You briefly mentioned Pinterest.
Right.
Do you find that's a social network to put our programs out there, and if so, how?
Well, again, it depends on the market you're trying to reach and what the content is. I think all of them have value, but you have to start with what's going to get you the most bang for your buck. If everything else seems like it's working and you don't have the resources, then it's probably not something you need to add immediately. But it is a useful tool. It's more for sharing images and that sort of thing. Yes?
You showed the slide on hack analytics. Was that from Google Analytics, or was that a proprietary?
Which slide?
The chart of the attempted hack.
Oh, no, that was from, it's a tool that I install on all my Joomla sites. It's called Admin Tools, Akiba Admin Tools. And when you go into Akiba Admin Tools, it'll show you a graph. You can set up all the different things. Mostly, you should make sure you have a web application firewall and update your website, update the software all the time. And then it will measure all these different attempts. And a lot of them are just bad login attempts. But that's what these hack bots do. They'll find your site, and then they crawl it, they look for the login. So there's a whole list of things I go through, like on WordPress, there are like 30 steps I go through First, I don't put it in a WordPress directory. I hide it in a directory that's named something else that's not in the main index. Then never use the username like admin or administrator